Listen carefully, because if this message found you today, it may be the moment that changes the way you see someone forever. There is a reason your heart has been restless. There is a reason certain conversations suddenly stopped making sense. There is a reason your intuition has refused to stay silent, even when your mind kept trying to explain everything away. Tonight, we are stepping into a story about hidden choices, broken trust, dangerous temptation, and the painful difference between appearances and reality. Someone close to your heart has been living two different lives. One life is the version they proudly show everyone. The other is a secret they desperately hope never reaches your eyes. Before we continue, I want you to promise yourself one thing. Do not jump to conclusions about anyone in your real life based only on this story. Instead, listen until the very end. Because the greatest lesson isn't simply about betrayal. It's about learning how deception grows, how truth survives, and why hidden darkness can never remain hidden forever. The story begins on what looked like an ordinary evening. Nothing unusual. Nothing dramatic. Just another day. But the most dangerous secrets never begin with dramatic moments. They begin with tiny decisions. A message answered when nobody was looking. A smile that lasted 1 second too long. A conversation that was supposed to end, but didn't. At first, everything felt harmless. That is how temptation always introduces itself. Not as destruction. Not as disaster. But as something exciting. Something flattering. Something that whispers. No one will ever know. Weeks turned into months. Excuses became habits. Habits became lies. Lies became a second identity. The person everyone trusted slowly became someone even they no longer recognized. Every morning they looked into the mirror. Every night they wondered if someone had noticed. Yet they kept walking deeper into a maze built from secrecy. The strange thing about hidden sin is this. It never stays hidden because it is powerful. It stays hidden only because the right moment has not yet arrived. And eventually, that moment always comes. While everyone believed they were protecting relationships, they were actually destroying them from within. Not through one giant mistake, but through hundreds of tiny choices. Every deleted message. Every fake excuse. Every hidden meeting. Every half-truth. Every promise broken in silence. Meanwhile, another person, someone completely unaware, continued trusting them with an open heart. That trust became the most valuable thing in the story. Because trust is easy to lose. Almost impossible to rebuild. One evening, something unexpected happened. A single mistake. One forgotten notification. One conversation left open. One tiny detail nobody was supposed to see. The secret nearly escaped. Panic rushed through them. Their hands shook. Their breathing changed. For the first time, they realized that secrets are never actually controlled. Secrets control the people who carry them. From that day forward, fear became their constant companion. Every phone call sounded dangerous. Every question felt like an investigation. Every unexpected knock on the door made their heart race. The affair that once seemed exciting no longer felt exciting. It felt like a prison. That is the strange price of deception. People think lies create freedom. In reality, lies create cages. The more they tried escaping, the tighter those invisible chains became. They stopped sleeping peacefully. They stopped laughing naturally. They started rehearsing conversations before speaking. Because when someone builds their life upon deception, every sentence must be remembered. Every detail must match the previous lie. Truth requires no memory. Only lies do. Days passed. Then something remarkable happened. Not because lightning struck. Not because someone suddenly confessed. But because the smallest truth has more power than the largest lie. Tiny inconsistencies began appearing. Different stories. Different timelines. Different explanations. Nothing obvious. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to make observant people pause. One question became two. Two questions became 10. Soon, the perfect image they had carefully built started developing cracks. And once a crack appears, light has a way of entering. The greatest tragedy wasn't simply the affair itself. The greatest tragedy was watching someone slowly become a stranger to their own conscience. Once, they believed honesty mattered. Once, they believed loyalty meant something. Once, promises carried weight. But compromise rarely arrives all at once. It arrives one excuse at a time. I deserve happiness. No one understands me. This changes nothing. It's only temporary. Those sentences sounded comforting. Until consequences appeared. Because consequences never ask permission before arriving. They simply arrive. Sometimes quietly. Sometimes suddenly. Always completely. As the hidden relationship continued, both people involved noticed something unexpected. Instead of becoming happier, they became more suspicious. If someone can betray another person, can they also betray me? That single question poisoned everything. Trust disappeared from both sides. Conversations became tense. Jealousy replaced excitement. Fear replaced romance. The secret that once felt thrilling became exhausting. This is one of life's greatest paradoxes. A relationship born from dishonesty struggles to breathe under honesty. Neither side feels safe. Neither side feels secure. Because deep inside, both understand exactly what the other is capable of. Months later, an ordinary conversation changed everything. No shouting. No dramatic confrontation. Just one unexpected sentence spoken at exactly the right moment. Silence filled the room. Sometimes silence is louder than accusations. Sometimes one truthful question has more power than 1,000 angry speeches. The person hiding everything suddenly realized. The performance was over. There was nowhere left to run. No explanation could erase the past. No excuse could restore broken confidence. No carefully prepared story could undo months of deception. Reality finally stood where fantasy once lived. And reality never negotiates with lies. From that moment forward, every decision mattered. Confess. Continue lying. Disappear. Or finally face the consequences. Whatever choice came next, life would never return to what it had been before. Because every hidden action eventually creates a visible outcome. Not always immediately. Not always dramatically. But inevitably. The lesson reaches beyond one relationship. It reaches every friendship. Every marriage. Every family. Every promise. Every heart. People often fear being exposed. Yet exposure is sometimes the beginning of healing. A wound hidden beneath a bandage continues growing. Only when it is uncovered can healing truly begin. Some stories end with reconciliation. Some end with separation. Some end with forgiveness. Others end with distance. But every story teaches something valuable. Integrity is built when nobody is watching. Character is revealed when temptation appears. And truth. Truth may arrive slowly. But it walks farther than deception ever can. Tonight's story is not about assuming the worst in those around you. It is about remembering that trust deserves honesty, honesty requires courage, and courage is tested by the choices we make when no one else knows. Because in the end, the greatest victory is not exposing someone else's darkness. It is refusing to let darkness become part of your own story. The night after everything nearly came to light felt different. Nothing had actually happened on the surface. No public confrontation. No dramatic confession. No doors slammed. No voices raised. And yet, everything had changed. The person carrying the secret woke up with a strange feeling they couldn't explain. For the first time in a long while, the silence around them no longer felt peaceful. It felt like a countdown. Every ordinary moment suddenly carried hidden weight. A simple, "How was your day?" sounded like an investigation. A casual smile felt impossible to return naturally. Even looking someone they loved in the eyes became difficult. Because guilt has a language of its own. It changes the way a person speaks. The way they breathe. The way they hesitate before answering questions that should have been easy. The strange part is that no one had accused them of anything. Yet they felt as though every room they entered already knew the truth. That is what hidden wrongdoing often does. It creates an invisible courtroom inside the mind. Every memory becomes evidence. Every decision becomes another witness. Every heartbeat sounds like a verdict waiting to be announced. Meanwhile, the one who trusted them most began noticing tiny details that had never mattered before. The phone that was suddenly placed face down. The unexpected late-night walks. The unexplained disappearances. The conversations that ended the moment another person entered the room. None of these things proved anything by themselves. But together, they formed a pattern. Patterns are powerful. A single raindrop means very little. thousands create a storm. One evening, an old friend stopped by unexpectedly. Nothing unusual. Just a friendly visit. Laughter filled the house. Stories from years ago resurfaced. Everyone appeared relaxed. But beneath the smiles, one person couldn't stop glancing toward the hallway. Toward the phone. Toward the door. Toward every possible escape. Fear has an incredible way of revealing itself without saying a single word. As the evening continued, someone asked a simple question. "Do you remember where you were last Thursday?" It wasn't meant to expose anyone. It wasn't even related to the hidden affair. But that innocent question froze the room for just a fraction of a second. Long enough for sharp eyes to notice. Long enough for doubt to grow. The answer came quickly. Too quickly. Prepared. Polished. Perfect. Almost. Too perfect. The conversation moved on. But the moment remained. Sometimes people don't remember exact words. They remember unusual reactions. Days passed, and another unexpected event unfolded. The other person involved in the secret relationship began asking uncomfortable questions. What if someone finds out? What happens if everything falls apart? Were all those promises even real? The excitement that once connected them slowly transformed into suspicion. Neither trusted the other anymore. If someone could hide one relationship, could they hide another? If someone could lie so convincingly once, how many other lies existed? What started with stolen excitement became constant anxiety. Instead of dreaming about the future, they started preparing for disaster. Instead of planning meetings, they planned explanations. Instead of feeling closer, they became strangers trapped inside the same secret. One rainy afternoon, something happened that neither expected. An old photograph appeared. Not because anyone was searching for evidence. Not because someone hired an investigator. Simply because memories have an unusual way of returning when least expected. The picture looked ordinary. Just a group gathered together. Smiling. Laughing. Nothing suspicious. But one tiny detail caught someone's attention. Two people who claimed they barely knew each other seemed unusually comfortable standing side by side. Was it proof? No. But it became another piece of a puzzle that refused to stay incomplete. The trusted person didn't become angry. Not yet. Instead, they became quiet. Very quiet. And sometimes silence is more frightening than accusations. Because silence gives people time to think. Time to observe. Time to connect details everyone else ignored. The one hiding everything sensed the change immediately. Questions became fewer. Conversations became shorter. Warmth slowly disappeared. It felt as though the entire house had become colder. They wanted to fix everything. But how do you repair trust while still protecting a lie? Every attempt only made things worse. One apology sounded empty. One explanation contradicted another. One promise created two new doubts. Eventually, they realized something heartbreaking. The affair had not only damaged one relationship. It had begun changing who they were. They no longer recognized the person staring back from the mirror. The confidence they once carried had vanished. The laughter they once shared felt forced. The peace they once enjoyed had disappeared. Hidden choices had rewritten their identity. Across town, the other participant in the affair experienced the very same struggle. Every notification brought fear instead of excitement. Every meeting felt dangerous. Every goodbye carried uncertainty. Neither was living the dream they had imagined. Both had become prisoners of decisions they believed they controlled. One evening, unable to bear the pressure any longer, they met in secret once again. But this meeting was different. There were no hopeful plans. No romantic promises. Only uncomfortable truths. "What are we doing?" The question hung in the air. Neither answered immediately. Because sometimes the simplest question is the hardest to face. After a long silence, one finally whispered, "I don't even recognize myself anymore." Those words changed everything. For the first time, they stopped pretending the situation was sustainable. For the first time, they admitted that every lie had demanded another lie. Every hidden meeting had required another excuse. Every stolen moment had stolen peace from somewhere else. They sat there, realizing that the very thing they thought would bring happiness had slowly taken happiness away from everyone involved. Back at home, the one who had been deceived reached a quiet decision. Not a decision driven by anger. Not revenge. Not pride. But by clarity. They would stop chasing explanations. Instead, they would watch. They would listen. They would allow truth to reveal itself naturally. Because forced truth often creates stronger lies. Patient truth reveals everything in its own time. And somewhere deep inside, the person carrying the secret felt it. The countdown had entered its final stage. Not because someone had exposed them, but because no secret can survive forever against a conscience that refuses to stay silent. The greatest battle was no longer between two people. It had become a battle between deception and the overwhelming desire to finally tell the truth. Neither side could win together. One would have to surrender. And when that moment finally arrived, every hidden choice made in darkness would stand in the full light of day.